Good morning, Spark citizens. This is Grant Nadu with State of the Spark, and I'm so glad you're here today. Last night, I had the honor to speak to the Innovation and Design class, which is a collaborative class from some local colleges here that takes place in the Entrepreneurial Incubator here at Catapult. And I was able to speak about ethics. And it was a great conversation. We had a lot of great questions, but a young man came up to me after that course and asked me, hey, listen, I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and they seem to be against having employment at all. Now, sidebar, don't be one of those entrepreneurs that poo-poos other people's journey of having employment. People make a ton of money in employment, running companies, moving up in the company. I worked at Starbucks and was really blessed to be a store manager. I made a lot of great money working for Starbucks. You can learn a lot as well, so if you're an entrepreneur, don't necessarily poo-poo someone else's journey. And if you're a young person leaving college listening to this video right now, hear me. It's okay and even good to go get employment with an entrepreneur or in a business to learn a ton while you're on your own journey. The goal is not to necessarily be an entrepreneur if that's not in you. So don't feel bad if that's not your direction, but he did ask me this question. He said, I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs who talk down to my idea of going into the corporate world. He said, but I personally believe it might be a good direction, and I affirmed that in him. And then he asked me this, he said, but how can I go into a business, stand out, and also learn about entrepreneurialism? So here's a few quick things I gave him, and I'm giving you right now. If you're a young person about to enter the workforce, about to leave college, or if you're just someone taking a new direction, here's the four quick things, or the three quick things I gave him. The first one was a term called Intrapreneurship. I'm sure you're going to get this right away. In most of my courses, I talk about how to be an entrepreneurial employee. People go like, what's that all about? It's being an employee, entering a W-2 employment situation with an employer, but thinking like an entrepreneur. Asking entrepreneurial questions, serving at the entrepreneurial level. You can look, and so instead of being called an entrepreneurial employee, they now call it Intrapreneurship. So look up Intrapreneurship, check out the Wikipedia article, read the Harvard Business Review, look around for stuff about being an intrapreneur. Now, the other thing I said was this: make sure that you are a lifelong learner. What I mean by that is this: if you want to stand out in a company that you just entered, look for any leadership fast track, leadership development, continuing education, or training. Ask your manager for training opportunities. Ask your district manager or your regional manager. Anytime you encounter one of these people, always ask the question, how can I continue learning and growing with the company? You'll definitely stand out, because I'm telling you, most of the people just want to show up and punch a clock. That's not you. You're going to be a powerhouse. So make sure that you're a lifelong learner. And along those lines, read every management book ever, starting with Peter Drucker. I'm telling you, start with Peter Drucker. He's an oldie but a goodie. If you want to know, and if you want to excel and stand out at your place of business, not only are you going to be a lifelong learner, but read every management book ever. I'm telling you, pick up and start with stuff by Peter Drucker, Managing the Nonprofit Organization, The Essential Manager. There's a ton of great material by this guy, and you can read contemporary stuff too, but be well versed in management. That's how to make sure you not only stand out when you start to talk entrepreneurially and start to become a lifelong learner, but also read every management book ever. Along with that, read entrepreneurial management books, because again, part of being an intrapreneur is knowing how to do the things an entrepreneur does. That's think like an entrepreneur. So that leads us to the last point here. Number 4, be able to think big picture and small picture. What I mean is this: usually the only people in a corporation who think big picture are CEOs, VPs, and district regional managers. They think big picture. They think vision. They think mission. They think values. They start to ask tough questions. How's our public perception? Most other people are frontline people, and they just have a very small vision. They think about punching the clock, making the coffee. Now, even if someone is passionate, they can be small pictured and make, in the example of Starbucks, a perfect cup of coffee. That's small picture. But you, as someone who's going to be an intrapreneur, are going to be able to think big picture and small picture. What I mean is this. For example, Starbucks' mission statement is to inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, one neighborhood at a time. That's big picture. And along with that, they have some core values. If you can step into an interview and recite the mission statement of that company, man, you'll already have one foot in the door. So that's big picture, and be able to speak to it. This is what you guys are trying to do regionally. This is your strategy on global. Like, for example, Starbucks, this was your strategy. You're buying up Teavana, and you're going to start introducing teas into India. That's a strategy that you need to be able to think of big picture. You'll be on their radar immediately for management and leadership growth. But along with that, you have to be able to see the value of doing the day-to-day extraordinarily well, of making the drink extraordinarily well, of cleaning up the store extraordinarily well. So as I mentioned to this young man, I said, be able to talk strategy, but also be able to tie that together to day-to-day. For example, a lot of this big picture stuff is philosophical, and a lot of this small picture stuff is praxeological or pragmatic. So what you do is be able to talk about the big picture, inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, one neighborhood at a time. But we tied that together, for example, with the Starbucks quarterly or semi-annual review. And I asked him this question, is the review tied to the mission statement? If I had one critique about Starbucks, it's that their, at the time, their quarterly or semi-annual review was very loosely tied to the mission statement. You as an entrepreneur, you're going to be able to ask these questions. You got to be able to see and make connections between the big picture and the small picture. So, if you want to go work in a corporate job, that is perfectly fine. The world still runs on employees. And entrepreneurs like myself or other people here at Catapult, we need awesome entrepreneurs. If you can think like an intrapreneur, you're speaking my language and I'd be likely to hire you. If you're a lifelong learner and you're reading everything all the time, reading industry magazines and reading books, you are definitely a candidate. If you are reading every management book ever, and starting with Peter Drucker, you're going even higher on the list. And last but not least, if you are able to think big picture and small picture, you will skyrocket to the top of that company. I'm telling you, I think people underestimate how many employees are actually just zombies going to work. That's not you. You're going to be an entrepreneur in your employment situation. Hit us up, ask us any questions you need on Facebook or Twitter. Make sure you subscribe to the video feed, share it with a friend, and if you have any questions or need any support from State of the Spark, let us know because we're here to ignite your life of explosive significance. Have a killer day.